Hey there, everyone. Welcome to a very special video today. I am here with the lovely Jane, and Jane is the woman behind Radiant Jane Retreats, who I'm going to be presenting on astrology for in Tuscany, in the Tuscan countryside in October of 2024. So I've jumped on with Jane so we can tell you a little bit more about where we're going to be, what you can expect, and what we might be covering from an astrological perspective. So welcome, Jane.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here today.
It is so lovely to connect with you. I know we are cooking up some very exciting plans behind the scenes, so it's going to be fun to share with everyone about them. Now, you've been leading retreats in the Tuscan countryside for a number of years now, I believe.
Yes, since 2014 really is when I started the company. And
Wow.
even
Yeah.
before that, I actually was exploring in the area where we are now in really 2010, 2011, and then I decided to sort of start in 2014. We did have a little 18-month hiatus during the pandemic,
Of course, of
but for the
course.
most part, we've been going strong for 10 years.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, and you have got a beautiful location where you host these retreats. You were just telling me before that it's in this really lovely, kind of lush, natural setting. So, what can we expect in terms of where we'll be on retreat?
Yes. Well, it's really just, in my view, perfectly located. And I've done a lot of exploring in Italy, particularly in Tuscany, which, we want to remember Tuscany includes Rome, Florence, and then the Tuscan countryside, which is where our retreat is held at a gorgeous place called Fattoria del Colle,
Mm.
which is located near a small medieval village called Trequanda. And the region is in Siena, but then the geographical region is called the Crete Senesi, which really
Beautiful.
just describes that gorgeous sort of classical look you see of the cypress trees with the winding hills and roads and forests in the background. Absolutely sage green lushness.
And it's amazing, isn't it? I've only spent one day in the Tuscan countryside. Was lucky enough to spend a week in Florence in 2019, just before the pandemic. And we did a day trip into the Tuscan countryside. And it really was the most magical day. It's one of those areas of the world that is as beautiful, if not more beautiful than you expect. You know, if you've seen images of those classic rolling Tuscan hills, in movies or paintings or artwork, and you get there and it's as if you've stepped into the artwork. It is, and there's
So,
something about the calming kind of pace of life for people who maybe haven't traveled to Italy before or haven't spent time outside North America. It really allows this beautiful pacing and calming of your system, and that really bodes well for integrating and learning and growing and all of that really rich inner work, I guess.
oh, I love the way you've described it. And yes, indeed, the premise of being in the countryside of Tuscany is that people do really relax their nervous systems,
Mm,
which, in modern culture, we're all jacked up a lot of the
yes,
time, for sure.
yes.
And when we're there on retreat, we do have this magical space and time where we can be nourished by that natural world that is in the
Mm.
country. And it is just absolutely gobsmackingly beautiful. It's true, even though I've been there dozens of times now over the last decade, it's never lessened in its
Mm.
beauty. In fact, it's even more magnified when I'm there. And I mean, the place that we're at is very earthy. I mean, there's
Mm.
roads to hike on, there's paths to take. It's obviously very clean, the air is very fresh. And I think one of the most magical ingredients about Fattoria del Colle is the people who
Mm.
run our place. The people
Beautiful.
who cook for us all day long. We have a chef, we have a female chef. The place is run really by women.
Mm. Yeah, that's a
So,
really unique piece about this particular location,
yeah,
isn't it? That this
yeah,
property is really feminine run, feminine managed.
very
It's
much.
like a woman's
Yeah,
vision come to life,
it
so to
is.
speak.
I mean, and everyone who attends will learn the history of how it came to be.
Mm.
But the woman who's basically in charge of it all, her name is Donatella Cinelli, And her family sort of over like a 500-year period kept passing this winery
Mm.
along and along and along and along. And her father actually gave it to her. She became the first person in all of Italy who started wine tourism.
Mm.
So when we're there, you'll learn all about that. You'll learn all about the beautiful organic wines that are made on site. And of course, there will be wine tasting.
Yeah, I mean, that is one memory of our day in the Tuscan countryside is we found this amazing kind of underground wine tasting setting. And, my husband and
Yeah,
I do love, he likes the reds and I like the whites or the sparklings. And we just
yeah,
had a really beautiful day. And there's something about that earthiness that I think is a nice complement, particularly to learning about astrology. When we're learning about astrology, we've kind of got our heads in the stars, our minds up in the sky. And when I've led people on retreat or been in person with people learning astrology before, having some of those really kind of earthy grounding elements is such a lovely complement because we want to integrate. Of course, we're living in the world where we want to bring in that divine insight, but to use it in our everyday space. And you had mentioned, Jane, that the time of year we're going to be, because our retreat is October 20th to 26th,
yes.
2024. And you mentioned something about the colors that come together at this
Mm,
time of year in the Tuscan
yeah.
countryside.
So it's really interesting. In the spring in Italy, you'll see the wisteria, the poppies, and a lot of the
Mm,
flowers, the green grass. The trees are all reblooming. And then in the fall, to me, it's my favorite time because it's when everything starts to turn this beautiful shade of golden. And
mm,
so, like the earth, because they've harvested the grapes, the earth turns back to that terracotta color.
mm.
The olive trees and the trees sort of get this like sagey blue look.
Gorgeous.
And
Yes.
so your days are still quite warm, and then you might need a little sweater or something to throw on at night. But the sunsets are absolutely magnificent
Mm.
and
And
something not to be
yeah,
missed.
not to I'm so looking forward to those sunsets because we just did when I was in the Tuscan countryside, we just did a day trip. So we didn't get the overnight sleeping there experience. And isn't that the perfect weather too, where it's warm and pleasant in the day, but cool enough that you're comfortable for sleeping of an evening?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
really ideal. And there's a beautiful place uh on site where everyone runs down every night to take pictures of the sunset and to like be in the sunset
Ah,
before we go to dinner.
beautiful.
And
So
so it's just gorgeous.
it sounds I'm so looking forward to it. I mean, I always look forward to being with people to share astrology, but this just sounds like a really magical place. So,
I
yeah.
feel really lucky that I found it, and I found it quite accidentally all those years ago. My husband and I were driving in Tuscany, and we were looking for another place,
Mhm.
and we were lost. And
Ah,
then I looked up and I saw this sign, Fattoria del Colle, and I said, "Well, let's go down here and see if we can find someone to help us."
yeah.
So we turned down the road, and it was like, "Oh my gosh, where are we? This place is amazing." And it just felt like coming home, even driving down this road. And then we got to the end of the road, and there was a woman standing in the road kind of ahead of us, sort of waving. And I was like, oh my gosh, I hope we didn't interrupt anything. And the woman was Donatella. And
Ah,
I mean, she's kind of a celebrity in Italy. She's not always there on site, but there she was waving to me. So I consider that a sign. We got out, we met her, we went into the office, looked around, and that was it. So it was
beautiful.
really quite my destiny to find this place.
So
Yeah,
beautiful. And that, yeah, that feels like a real destined, fated moment. And
it really was.
I mean, I know you do lots of retreats with different themes, but in the
Mhm.
context of our retreat on astrology, that feels really appropriate
Yeah.
because, we're going to gather together in October of 2024. And one of the things that I'm really keen to share with everyone is some insights about the big shifts that are happening in 2025. In
Mm.
astrology, 2025 is such a pivotal year. We have a number of major planets changing signs. For instance, we've got Uranus moving into Gemini, Saturn and Neptune moving into Aries. And so it's going to be a year where there are a real mix of like beginnings and endings as we head into 2025.
I
Longer
love that.
cycles, yeah, winding down, kind of
Yeah.
coming to their, a little bit like the harvest, coming to their natural or organic conclusion, and then rolling into that question of what's next.
Mm.
And so I'm going to share with people who attend about the timing techniques of transits and annual profections. And so we'll take a look at some big picture themes, but we'll spend most of our time exploring how these changes in 2025 might be activating your personal birth chart. So what is it that you are ready to step into or move towards? What is it that you're ready to move away from? And so that's going to be really rich material. It is going to be ideal for students who already have an intermediate level of astrology knowledge. So this isn't the best retreat if you're a total beginner. If you are a beginner, reach out to Jane or I, and we can point you in the direction of, where to get started. But for those of you who are already on your way with your journey into astrology and you're wanting to add some timing, this would be a really lovely fit. And Jane, you know a little bit about astrology, I believe. I know when we first
I
talked,
do.
you
I
know some
do.
of your own chart and things like that.
Yes, I do. I mean, I know that when I was in Italy in 2018, um, I broke my leg and there was this Uranus moment happening apparently in my chart.
Yes. Yes.
So, ever since then, I guess I've been a more astute student of astrology.
Yes.
I just
Yes.
wish I had more time because I'm still trying to learn Italian and I practice that. And I love astrology so much. And I do take the like the foundational aspects
Mm,
of my own chart and my rising sign and my moon, and I really put that into action. Like, for example, I never launch a retreat on a void moon.
beautiful. Yes.
And I really look at all the aspects when I'm making decisions about like dental work or surgery or purchases. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm definitely, and I actually love the retrogrades of Mercury because I really let myself kind of realign and review, and I
Mm.
just step back. I don't feel like I need to be pushing in that area.
That's one of the great things when you get into timing with astrology, is that there are always constructive components of every cycle, whether it's a Saturn transit or a Neptune transit or a Mercury retrograde or a Uranus transit.
Yeah.
There are things that we can there are ways in which we can sort of consciously align our efforts and intentions with the nature of the energy of the moment. And that,
Hmm.
to me, that's sort of like getting into a flow state, or even maximizing efficiency, so that you're not swimming upstream. If the cosmic message is like slow down here, or take a pause here, or review over here, then working with that instead of trying to keep moving forward. And as we're
Mm.
talking this
Yeah.
through, one of the things that I love about timing in astrology is that it reminds us that there are seasons and cycles of
So
things.
much. Yes.
And
Yeah.
what's really lovely about like the topic and the venue of what we're looking to do is that when you're in an agricultural environment, like a wine growing region, you're really aware that there are cycles for things. There is a planting and a harvesting, and then there's a letting get quiet period. And even though your personal astrological cycles, they're not probably the same every year, but we can tie them into, this is a hardworking period,
Mm.
or this is a period of rest, depending on which transit is activating, your chart at any given point.
I love that. And really, this is the perfect backdrop for all that because there is a sense of let's slow down.
Mm,
Like people may want to travel in Italy pre or post retreat, but I think one of the really beautiful and generous aspects of having a retreat like this for all these days is that you get to kind of just be in this one place.
mm,
And let
yes.
yourself, I mean, the days move, we don't have to
Yeah.
hurry. We're not rushing to see everything and take all the pictures. I mean, we can slow down and have like meals slowly.
Mm.
We can take a nap if we want. Obviously, people will be studying with you as well every day, but we're really not pushing and cramming a lot of stuff into the schedule.
No, no. And there's so many pieces here. One of the things I loved about living in Europe and traveling in Europe is that if you go to a restaurant, you're not turned over in 75
No,
minutes.
no,
You can
no,
easily spend 3 hours or more at a table in a restaurant.
no.
And, when my husband and I were lucky enough to live in Europe for a couple of years, and then when we've come back to Canada, we've felt a little bit whiplash sometimes when you go out to dinner because you think, oh my God, we haven't even been here for an hour and dessert's already coming out. So that idea of just slowing down, it doesn't feel like it's taking a long time because there is a beautiful pacing, but it's just enjoying the moment, isn't it?
It is. And the community of your other retreaters. I mean, there's so
Mm.
much friendship that happen. It's just amazing. People become lifelong friends. It's just really heartening
Yeah, that is
for
one
me
of
to
the
see that.
secret things about going on retreat is that you think, well, I want to spend time in the Tuscan countryside and I want to learn astrology, and that might be your
Yeah.
motivation. The
Yeah.
secret side benefit is that you will connect with some amazing like-minded people, and you get this sense of both belonging but also companionship that often extends beyond the retreat itself.
Yes. It's funny because every now and then someone will write to me after the retreat and say, I really didn't think I wanted to go because I'm an introvert and I didn't know would I be pushed into these social settings and would it be awkward. But what I found myself turning into a little bit of an extrovert on the retreat. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, you can be an outgoing introvert. That's okay.
Absolutely. And
That's
if you
okay.
are someone who needs quiet time to yourself, you can always just,
Yes.
pull back into your room, or you can go off on a walk on your own. And so,
Everything is
yeah.
allowed. Yes.
Yeah,
Everything
and
is
Jane,
allowed.
do you want to tell people a little bit about like the timing and the structure? Like I know we're all going to meet on Sunday
Yeah.
afternoon and we'll be
Yes.
together till Saturday, but tell us a little bit about the kind of
Yeah.
form and flow
Yes.
of our
So
time
actually
there.
what will happen is the first day of the retreat, that Sunday, October 20th, everyone will be met at the Rome Fiumicino Airport. And really, people will be arriving starting at 9 or 10 in the morning. Some people have flight. We always tell people, make sure your flight gets in before noon,
Right.
because just in case there's a delay, we don't want you to, not that the bus would leave without you, but we always have a leader. We get all together in a WhatsApp group, and then we have a leader for that. And then everyone meets up with the bus at the Rome airport. So I know
Perfect.
this is kind of a point that I really want to stress because some people get very nervous about like, how am I going to get there?
Yes. Yes. That's
So we're
good. Yeah.
very good at, we've never, we've taken over 400 people on retreats now, and no one has ever missed the bus. So you're covered.
Great.
So then everyone arrives. It takes about 2.5 hours to get there. It's a beautiful drive. And then we have a welcome moment, refreshments, and everyone checks into their room and settles in, takes a shower if they need. And then the first night, we really just have a lovely dinner.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And, because people may be jet lagged and whatever. So we don't really get into anything, in terms of teaching or
I'm not
classwork.
teaching you on the day you arrive. No, it's
Not
like just
really.
get
I mean,
settled, get situated.
you'll get
Yeah.
a tour of the place that we're at. And then really how it's typically structured is Monday through Friday. Most teachers are teaching in the morning after breakfast.
Mm. Yeah.
So there's, that's depending on how you like to do that, 2 or 3 hours or whatever. The
Yeah.
first day on Monday, we do have a wine tour and a peachy making class late afternoon. And the beauty of that is that everyone gets to learn about the history of this place that we're at, which really helps to frame like, why are we here and what are we doing?
Yeah.
Why this place? Why this place is special? Why not that villa over there
Yeah.
across the hill? And it's because of the history of what this family does and how they make wine and how they got there and all that. And it is quite interesting. And then on Wednesday, we take a field trip to a beautiful little medieval village called Pienza.
Mm.
So we leave in the morning after breakfast, and everyone can have lunch there on their own or whatever snacks. It's a gorgeous place to shop, see landscapes, see art, go into the Duomo, the cathedral. And it's quite nice because it's not like real hilly or strenuous. It's a very
Mm.
walkable village. For people who like to get a lot of exercise, there's actually a walking trail they can take there. And then Thursday and Friday are more teaching and more chilling out at
Yeah.
Fattoria del Colle. Eating. We're eating a lot. There's breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, and the food is amazing.
And that's all included, isn't it, in the
It's all
retreat
included.
registration? Yeah.
Yeah. And I always have people tell me this when they write me love letters after the retreat. They always say, you never told me how magical the food was going to be. And I want to say that on the website, but I also want to make sure people don't think they're coming to like a steakhouse or a chop house or something like that. It's
Yes.
traditional Tuscan food. It's delicious and lovingly made, but it might not be what you're used to eating at home.
Yes. And isn't that part of the joy of traveling and having these new experiences, is that you're trying a different style of cuisine?
Yes.
Yes, but it's also like, when you go on an experience like this, there is an openness to things being a little different from what you're familiar
Yeah,
with.
it is. And so
Yeah.
it's wonderful to be able to go with the flow of a new culture and a new
Mm,
cuisine.
yeah.
And so there's this daily pace about the food. Okay, there's breakfast. There's this moment of learning and possibility and walking. Then there's lunch. So
Yeah.
I would say the meals anchor the day
Beautiful. No,
because
and
it's,
it's true. And we will do our teaching. I think it's Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Thursday morning, and Friday morning.
yes,
So between
yes.
breakfast and lunch, we'll do our astrological deep dives. And we'll have some Q&A sessions. I think especially Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, sort of in that late afternoon before dinner. And then
And
on,
if, you know,
yeah.
we can also offer, we have a wonderful Qigong teacher nearby in a village.
Mm,
And he's an amazing teacher. And if we have enough people interested in like an early morning Qigong class, which is very balancing and lovely, we can certainly bring in Roberto to teach.
fantastic. So keep
That's
that in
something
mind if you're thinking about signing up, and
Mhm.
just let us
Yeah,
know. And
yeah.
then Saturday morning, we have breakfast together before we all head off
We
again?
do.
How does that, how do
It's an
we
early
close?
morning. The bus leaves at 8 a.m. And so breakfast is at 7 a.m. So that's a little bit of an earlier start.
Yeah.
But we want to make sure, as flights go, the reason that we do that is because a lot of people have a flight at 1 or 1:30 or 2 p.m. on that day that they
Mhm.
need to catch. So we want to make sure that it's not too stressful. You
Yes.
know, having a safe drive to the airport, allowing people to check in and just chill out a little bit before their flight, as opposed to running in there and you know, like jogging down the
Down
jogging
there.
to your gate. We really
Yes.
don't want you to do that. So
So
it's
people
worked out
could,
really well.
yeah, and so people could really be flying in, landing in Rome on Sunday morning, and then flying home on Saturday afternoon or
They
Saturday
could.
night.
They
Yeah.
could.
Or you could extend and do something before or after, depending
Yes,
on
and
your
and
time.
and
And
I'm happy to talk to people about travel in the area. Taking trains in Italy is phenomenal. I can talk
yes.
about that. You know, we can even do another session where with the people that are already signed up and more people that are interested, I would be happy to talk about pre or post
Oh,
retreating.
this is a great point, actually, Jane.
Yeah,
So if any of you are watching and you're thinking that you're interested, but you have questions
yeah,
that we might not have covered here, let us know in the comments below, and one of us can either get back to you, or if we need to,
yeah,
we can have another sort of live chat and answer all those questions. So if there's anything you're thinking, oh, I need to know specifically about this or that, just let us know in the comments below.
yeah.
And then I guess the most important thing, Jane, for everyone who's now thinking, oh my gosh, I have to get together and be there on this retreat, where should they go to register or to sign up?
So they should go to thejanereeves.com.
Perfect.
Okay. And then you will see the drop-down menu. You'll see in the right-hand side of the toolbar, it'll say retreats. And then you drop down and you'll find Kelly's retreat.
Yes,
So
which
it's
I think is
pretty easy.
timing your life with
Timing
astrology.
your life, timing
Yeah.
your life. And then once you click that page and you go there, there's like 3 places to place a deposit. So there's one right at the top. Also, if you just have questions or want to ask me about the retreat or talk to me, you can send me a text message to my phone
Okay.
and I will respond and we can schedule a chat, or just even texting is fine. My cell phone number is 612-741-5746.
Fantastic.
And
Well,
I'm a big
yeah.
fan of just talking to people. Like
Yes.
sometimes people just want to talk to a human being.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's no problem. I'm here for that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And for those of you who might be hearing about this, having known my astrology work, you can find the link to the retreat via the calendar page. So if you go to kellysastrology.com, the calendar menu option in the main bar, and just scroll down and you'll see the info there, and you can just click and that'll take you straight through to Jane's website as well. So thank you so much, Jane,
You're
for joining
welcome.
me today to share about our retreat. I'm so looking forward to it, and I think it's going to be a great time. Thank you for putting it together.
Thank you, Kelly. I'm so excited about this retreat. I just can't wait to meet you and everyone there.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. If you've got more questions, let us know in the comments below. I'll also put the links to sign up in the notes below so you can just click straight through. And we hope to see you in the Tuscan countryside in October. Thanks,
Ciao.
everyone.